Today we'll be checking out the MIG 205 Pro from ARCCAPTAIN. It's reasonably priced, features a large, easy to read screen, super easy to use, and works as well as any welder on the market. Setup is simple. We'll be using the wire provided, and that's 0.035. This guy goes on, then the spring, and the nut. And the nut is tightened up just tight enough to keep the spool from unraveling while you're feeding the wire. The inside of the door provides a nice guide or setup information for all types of welding. Different rollers are provided depending on the size and type of wire you're using. It slides right here onto that shaft, then this nut is tightened down. After you feed the wire, you'll close this down and flip this up. The tension is adjusted just tight enough to feed the wire, but not too tight so that if the wire gets stuck in the end of the gun while you're welding, it doesn't keep feeding the wire and create a big bird's nest of wire back here. Next, you'll attach the welding gun and feed the wire through. And if you'll notice, there's a light up there to help you see inside the welder, which is really handy. For MIG setup, this guy gets put right here, and the ground clamp goes right here. The user interface or screen is large and easy to read, and again, this welder is super easy to use. This button is for manual or synergic. Synergic is automatic. It automatically sets everything up for you depending on what you're welding. This button is for the type of trigger on the gun you want. 2T is on and off. 4T is on, weld, and then hit it again for off. And spot is for when you're spot welding, it automatically times the trigger pull. This button is for the type of material you're welding or type of gas, and that's right here. And we're going to be using a mix. This is the wire size, 0.23, 0.30, 35, and 40. We'll be using 0.035. This is the mode. We'll be setting it to MIG, and this is a gas check. A really nice regulator and gas hose is provided with the welder, but we're going to use our own today because I already have it hooked up. We'll be setting the gas to 20 CFH. Make sure the gas is on. Hit the gas check button on the welder, and this adjusts it. We'll set it right there at 20 and hit the button. We'll give it a try with a few spot welds. And that worked real well. And a shot of the backside. Most of the times when doing body work, you'll be lap welding or butt welding. So first, let's give lap welding a try. Here's a close-up shot, and the welder did just fine. Even though we're using 0.035 inch wire, I'm used to 0.023. This time we'll be butt welding. and it is burning through, so we'll turn it down. Here's a close-up shot of those welds. You can see here at first we were burning through, but we turned down the heat just a bit, got used to it, and it started to work out just fine. You can fine-tune your welding in synergic mode. Just press this button. This is your wire feed speed. This is the thickness of the metal. And this is your memory settings. On the other side, you can adjust the heat in a positive or negative direction, burn back, and inductance. Last, the welder comes with a graphene liner for welding aluminum, so I'll show you real quick how to install that. Inside the welder, there's a C-clip right here. You'll remove that and then push this little metal tube outwards. Here's a shot of that clip. On the gun end, you'll remove this and this. And just this will be sticking out. On the other end, that connects to the welder, you'll remove this nut right here. And you'll grab a hold of this and pull out the old liner. Make sure it's laid out nice and straight and pull out the liner. On the graphene liner, using a new razor blade, cut this end off. Nice and clean. Then we'll feed the liner in. This is at the gun, and this is at the welder. It helps if you sand the end a little bit to a point. That'll help it slide through easier. This is what the end should look like. That just fits right in there. Then the nut, and you're going to make sure you leave about 5 inches of liner to work with. On the gun end, cut the liner so that it butts up to the tip. You can cut it a little bit long and then just push it back out the other end while you're screwing it in. Like that. And that pushed it back out the other end. Back at the other end, it did push it out a little, but we can just slide that right in and tighten the nut down permanently. Now from inside the welder, after attaching the welding gun, mark your liner just before it comes in contact with that wheel. And I'm just going to scribe it here with a razor blade. And I'm going to pull it back out and cut it. Here's a close-up shot of what that should look like. Finally, the last step before running aluminum wire is to remove this guy and make sure your roller has a U on it. For example, this would run 0.035 inch aluminum wire. And now you're set up for aluminum. The 200 and 205 are both great welders. The obvious differences are in the power adapters, size and weight, and user interface. Both run on 110 or 220 and both have adapters, but the plug on the 200 looks like this and the plug on the 205 looks like that. The MIG 205 is a bit smaller and lighter. There are some differences in the user interface. The numbers are a little larger on this one and it's a little bit clearer. There are 2 knobs as opposed to 3. This would be your wire speed and temperature, and 3 can be a little bit confusing. On the wire size, this one is in metric, and this one is in inches. One thing I really like about the newer 205 is that if you turn off synergic or automatic, you have an old-fashioned welder with wire speed and heat. Real simple. This sticker shows everything that can be displayed on the screen. The welder is also capable of connecting to a smartphone through Bluetooth to monitor or change settings. Finally, one last thing you'll really appreciate is a very well written user manual. I hope you enjoyed this video on a well-built, easy to use multi-process welder from ARCCAPTAIN, the MIG 205 Pro. If you did, and you'd like to get my latest videos, don't forget to hit the subscribe button.